So the interesting thing about teaching Arabic at the Qalam seminary is that the Arabic education is no longer just an individual goal. It's not studying Arabic in a vacuum, but it's part of this larger education system. It's part of a 5-year seminary. So what's beautiful is that students, they always know where they're supposed to go with their Arabic. So whatever skills they gain throughout the year, whatever insight that they gain, they take that with them into their continuing education through the seminary.
My wife is a teacher. Yes, she has a master's in education, and even she says that a lot of the teaching techniques that Ustad Ubaidullah used, that those are things that she learned while learning to become a teacher. There's a difference between just being a teacher and being an educator, and it is very obvious that he's an educator. The techniques that he uses, and there's definitely, there's a curriculum behind it. It's not just like come in and do this concept today and do something else tomorrow. It builds. From day one until now, almost 3 months in, we've been building towards something. And Ustad Ubaidullah tells us periodically what our goals are, that hey, this is what we're going to be doing. In 2 months, we're building towards that.
Previously, the Qalam Seminary was a 4-year seminary, and in order for students to get admitted into the program, they had to be proficient in Arabic, enough so that they can read the Quran and translate, and so that they can vowel classical Arabic texts that normally don't have vowels, vowel them correctly based on their understanding of grammar, and translate in a meaningful way. So we made those two things our ultimate goal at the Arabic program. So those are the only two objectives we work on throughout the year. And it seems like, you know, if you just read that on paper, you read that on our website, that really you have two objectives. Like there's so many things you could be doing with a language. It seems like it's not that much, but when you unpack both of those things, you realize that it's a lot of work to become proficient in those two things. And the way I like to think about it is that we're very focused on these two things. And alhamdulillah, because of that focus on two objectives, students see those results very quickly, and they can always track their progress and measure it against this overall objective.
A goal of mine coming to Qalam was to forge a better relationship with the Quran and to just draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, period. And I think that being able to deal with the Quran, to look at a new ayah every single day and break it down and understand the translation of it, and now we're slowly going into the tafsir of these ayahs, I definitely feel like I'm getting closer to achieving that goal. But I feel like seeking ilm is a journey. It's never gonna end. For me, inshallah, after finishing the Arabic program, I hope that I'm able to have a good foundation of Arabic to move on in Qalam and to continue with the seminary.
The closest thing I can think of is for someone to be able to read an English sentence and understand, oh, there's an action in this sentence or a verb. Here's a person that's doing the action. Here's a person that's affected by the action. Or here's a subject, here's a predicate. So when you know the language at that level, that means you understand how the language works. You understand how to put words together. You understand how to dissect maybe a more complicated sentence and make sense of it. So they're able to do that with Arabic, so they can open the Quran and they can understand how the words are coming together, and then based on that understanding they can translate in a meaningful way.
One thing that really stuck with me, especially at the beginning of the year, was the emphasis on suhbah, on brotherhood and companionship that the teachers here have really put into their curriculum. So it's not really a program where you come in, stay 6 hours and you go home and just shut yourself in studying or finishing up or doing work. You're really engaging with everybody there. They put a very heavy emphasis on working together and making connections so that your time here isn't like you clock in, you clock out, you know? So the environment is very friendly. It's very open to a lot of people. I made friends that, knowing their stories now, after I've gotten to know them so well, if I met them on the street, I probably wouldn't have connected with them in the same way. But the mutual understanding and drive to benefit from our deen and learn this language and things like that has kept us together, and inshallah will keep us together for much longer.
So one of the things I've learned overdoing this for a few years now, is that culture is never accidental, right? So whatever the culture is, that's something that we very consciously try to establish here. And it's beautiful when we hear from students that what we were trying to do, the culture we were trying to establish, is being perceived and received by the students. So that's always a beautiful thing. And yeah, ultimately, we always want to try to create a culture of learning, a culture of respect, and at the same time, also creating kind of a fun environment for learning, right? Where students enjoy coming to class, students want to learn further. They're not just being forced to be there, but they really miss class when they don't have it. And that's one of the objectives that we all the teachers at the seminary try to set forth.
It was one of the most awesome things when we found out we were going to have classes with the other shuyukh. So we have a class with Sheikh Abdul Nasir Jangda on the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, which is like literally we look forward to it every single week, because that's our spiritual, like, you know, we're talking about how the Prophet ﷺ was like this and like that. We have Sheikh Mikhail, and Sheikh Mikhail has been teaching us different subjects and using different books. Right now we're going through Bidayatul Hidayah, the beginning of guidance by Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. So that is an excellent book, and Sheikh Mikhail is always, you know, making it interesting. Then we have Ustada Fatima for Ulum al-Quran, Ustada Atifa, who is right now teaching us fiqh, and we have Ustad Suhaib, who is going over the sciences of hadith. So all of those things are like bonus points for us, because we didn't expect it, and when we got a chance to be exposed to it, it's, I think for myself, I plan inshallah ta'ala to go on to the next year. It's going to make it much easier for me to grasp those subjects when I come to the next year, because I've had some exposure in this year.
One of the important things when designing the full curriculum for this year, but we wanted to really plug it into the seminary as the first year of the Qalam seminary. And one of the ways that we do that, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're very focused on Arabic, and that's a majority of what we do throughout our day. However, to provide further enrichment and a little bit of a break from Arabic, because again, as I mentioned, Arabic's very technical, it's a lot of work, like you're doing a lot of drills and solidifying things, and it can get very exhausting. So to kind of break the monotony of the day, or kind of give them a break from Arabic for a little while, we do have one period a day in which students cover different topics in Islamic studies. And what's beautiful about these subjects is that all of these subjects that they study in the first year of the Qalam seminary, they get an introduction to them in English, with qualified teachers, and then in their second year of study at the seminary, when they continue on into the following year, and now they're going to study these subjects through Arabic texts and classical texts and go in depth a little bit further, they'll have already had a primer in all of these topics in English. So they really do have a leg up from students who don't come in through the Arabic program to continue their studies, because if you go through the first year, the Arabic year, not only do you solidify your Arabic, but you get one pass and kind of a base understanding of all the sciences that you're going to be studying in the following year.
I think my biggest lesson is just putting your full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because knowledge is not something that you can just gain from a book. I think you have to pray about it. You have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you that knowledge, to open your heart to the knowledge. So yeah, I definitely think that tawakkul is a huge thing that I learned. I mean, prior to coming Qalam, and that's definitely what pushed me to come to Qalam, was just putting full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and praying that He opens my heart to the knowledge and to the ilm.